throughout the year as they started to hear that Dr. Tony Campolo was going to be speaking for us. How did you two guys get Dr. Tony Campolo to come and speak for you? Tony Campolo, if you don't know, was a world-renowned speaker. And at first, of course, maybe the prideful side of us would come out, oh, it's just because our mission is so captivating, and he really wanted to come and to share this evening with us. But one of his board members actually reached out to us and said, actually, no, Tony doesn't turn down too many speaking engagements if he can actually do it. But that's the catch, is actually trying to find an evening that Tony is free is almost impossible. And this is truly, we believe, God's hand was involved in that. Because, as it turns out, if you remember last year, we had our fundraising banquet in the beginning of February. And that evening we had, I think, 6 inches of snow. And so that created even more anxiety for us. And so we decided with our board that we were going to move back a month and have our banquet in March. Little did we know that this winter was going to be as crazy as it has been, but thankfully we didn't get any snow today. But as it turns out, is because we did move our banquet back an extra month, this evening was free, and Dr. Tony Campolo was available. It was one of the only nights, literally in the next maybe year or two, that he was free, and so we are very, very thankful to have him here tonight. Just to tell you a little bit about how we got him. I've grown up hearing Dr. Tony Campolo speak since I was, I think, 12 years old, and he's one of the few communicators that has literally been able to keep my attention since I was 12. Not too many communicators can say that, and he's just such a phenomenal storyteller, and actually be able to sit at his table tonight is just such an honor for me. I've grown up hearing him every summer since I was 12 in a small town in northern New Jersey called Ocean Grove. If any United Methodists are here, you know Ocean Grove. They're famous for having this place called the Great Auditorium, and every summer they bring in a lot of guest speakers and preachers. And I grew up traveling down one Sunday a month, or one Sunday a summer, to go down and hear him speak. And last summer, I wasn't able to go hear him speak, but my parents did. And he happened to be speaking on the importance of listening to one another's stories and compassionately. And so my mom nudged my dad and knew that we were trying to get our next speaker for this year, and said, Tom, why don't you just take a shot and reach out to him? And so the next day we did, and we sent him an email, and literally within 2 days, his administrator responded back and said, he would love to come and speak for you, but trying to find a night. And just being able to get him for tonight is really remarkable. So thank you for being here.
To give you a little background, Dr. Anthony Campolo is a professor emeritus of sociology at Eastern University, a former faculty member of the University of Pennsylvania, and the founder and president of the Evangelical Association for the Promotion of Education. He's written more than 35 books, several of which are on sale here tonight. And he is one of the founders of the Red Letter Christian Movement. Dr. Campolo and his wife Peggy, who is very gracious and very nice, live near Philadelphia. They have 2 children and 4 grandchildren, and we've heard already so much about them tonight. He is truly a phenomenal speaker who inspires, challenges, encourages, and awakens us. To find the truth of the meaning of our lives. So we present to you tonight is our privilege and our honor, Dr. Anthony Campolo.
There you go. It's good to be here, but of course at my age it's good to be anywhere. I mean, I'm so old. I go to weddings and the bride's grandmother looks better to me than the bride. I like coming up here because I know so many of you. So many people have come up and said, hi, do you remember me? I'm always intrigued with that question. Do you remember me? I never quite knew how to handle it up until about 8 or 9 months ago, and a lady came up and said, "Do you remember me?" And in a moment of divine inspiration, I said, "Madam, in order to get any work done, I had to put you out of my mind." As I got up to speak, I pulled out some notes, which, and I don't know what's the matter with this thing. There is I do know this. The Archbishop of Canterbury was starting the Lambeth Conference, where all the bishops come. And he started off by saying, "The Lord be with you." And you know, in the Anglican and Episcopal churches, they always say, "and also with you." He said, "The Lord be with you." There's something wrong with the microphone, and the whole audience said, "and also with you." You know? As I pulled out my notes, people probably stared and said, "You didn't used to use notes." Well, I was younger. I can remember things, you know. I'm reminded of that guy who, was telling his friend, I was at a terrific restaurant last night. The food was marvelous, the ambience was impeccable, the service was par excellence. His friend said, "What's the name of the restaurant?" He said, "I can't quite remember. A flower with a stem, has thorns on it, a red." Guy said, "Rose?" He said, "That's right. Rose, what was the name of the restaurant we went to last night?" When you talk about this whole matter of counseling, I'm a sociologist by trade. And the greatest social theorist of the 20th century is a man named Philip Reeve. He just died last year. Philip Reeve. And he wrote a book called The Triumph of the Therapeutic, a crucial book in the field of sociology. And he put great emphasis on the fact of how counseling has changed. As a matter of fact, he wrote an additional book called Counseling After Freud. Up until Freud, all counseling was done by religious people. If your marriage was in trouble, if you were going through a period of depression, if you were having trouble with your kids, no matter what the problem was, you went to see the pastor or the rabbi. You went to the priest. And the clergy provided the counseling. And there was a big difference between the way in which clergy did counseling and the way in which the new professions do counseling. The biggest difference is that clergy have as a primary responsibility to facilitate reconciliation. If a marriage is going to break up, they're there to try to hold it together. Try to listen to both parties. Try to work things out between the two parties involved. Today, it's not quite that well. I got to tell you, the statistics aren't very good. You go for typical marriage counseling, and actually, the probability that your marriage will not last goes up significantly if you go to a marriage counselor. Primarily because marriage counselors these days, imbued by neo-Freudian ideology, have a tendency to cater to the individual. I mean, it goes something like this. You go in and you sit down and he'll say or she'll say, "Mary, we really hope we can restore this relationship between you and your husband, but I'm here to tell you one thing. I'm primarily concerned about you. You as an individual. And if, in fact, you're going to be a happier person out of this marriage, then we're going to direct you in that way. And if, on the other hand, marriage would work for you, fine. But we're concerned about you as an individual." Clergy have always been concerned not about individuality, but about reconciliation. Getting reconciled to God, getting reconciled to your neighbor, getting reconciled to your wife, getting reconciled to your children. Those of us who come out of a religious path, and Philip Reeve was anything but a religious man, knew that our ministry was basically a ministry of reconciliation. We were trying to bring people together. We were trying to hold people together. We were trying to nurture relationships rather than to exalt individuality.